أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أرواحنا له الفداء بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام على أئمة الهدى. We'll be continuing this line. Last week we had the first session on it, and today we will inshallah conclude from the point of view of Ayatullah Zia Abadi marhum. And then also I want to bring in next session some of the points from Ayatullah Jawadi. So as I said last time, this one is a very interesting and very long discussion, so we will try to cover it in a few sessions. So just to recap our end of last session, and I request everybody to look at last session as well, because we're going to build on that today. We said the following. We said to meet the Lord, to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the very purpose of our creation, to be in the best possible state to meet Him, liqa'ullah, meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, meeting Allah properly in the best possible way is not possible without meeting and perceiving the Imam, the Ma'soom Imam, because he is Wajhullah and Babullah. He is the face of Allah and the doorway towards Allah. To get more information on this, please refer to the last session. So in this way, we can say it is the same thing. To get closer to the Imam, if you do it properly, you are getting closer to Allah. And if you are far from the Imam, then you are far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nearness to the Imam is nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Ayatullah Zia Abadi, God bless him, he brings a very nice point here. He says, look, when you look at it in this way, Imam alayhi salam is both the guide and the aim. It is the same thing in the Imam. He is both Hadi, he shows you the way, and he accompanies you on the way, and he is the hadaf, the aim. The whole goal of this is to get closer to the Imam. So he is both the aim and he is the route and the way. Unfortunately, this does not happen for everyone. Unfortunately, if you look at the life of the Holy Prophet, if you look at the life of Amirul Mu'mineen and other Imams, many people lived at the same time of Amirul Mu'mineen and Rasulullah, but they did not appreciate them or recognize them properly. Yes, they saw them, they saw their physical state, they knew what they looked like, they knew where they lived, they recognized their voice, but they did not know him properly. It's possible that we in this time, without seeing our Imam, without seeing any of the previous Imams, that we know them better than even those people who lived at the time of these great personalities. For example, can we really say that someone like Umar, he lived at the time of Rasulullah, he lived at the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, did he really know the Holy Prophet? Did he perceive the Holy Prophet properly? Can we say, for example, that Muawiyah truly knew Amir al-Mu'mineen? Did he appreciate Amir al-Mu'mineen? Did he recognize him for the depth of recognition that Amir al-Mu'mineen requires to be recognized by? We will say no, they didn't. So it is possible that someone can encounter the Prophet or the Imam and not really know them and not really appreciate them and not perceive them. So these people, they only knew their physical side, not their deeper spiritual side. Here we have a very interesting hadith from the time of Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. Imam Baqir alayhi salam was standing at the door of the mosque in Medina. At the door of the mosque in Medina, he was stood there alongside his companion Abu Basir, one of the very sincere, great companions of the fifth Imam. The fifth Imam says to Abu Basir, he says, I want you to ask people, have they seen me? Have they seen me? Where is Imam? Where is he? Ask them, do they know where I am? Can they see me? So Abu Basir, he started to ask people, have you seen Abu Ja'far? Meaning the fifth Imam. Have you seen Abu Ja'far? Have you seen Abu Ja'far? Everyone was saying, no, we haven't seen him. We don't know where he is. Whereas Imam was standing right next to Abu Basir. Then Imam says to him, now go and ask Abu Harun Makfuf. Abu Harun Makfuf was a blind person. He was blind, okay? So Abu Basir calls him over. He comes over and he says, have you seen Abu Ja'far alayhi salam? Have you seen the Imam? Abu Harun says to him, how can I not he says to him, have you seen the Imam? He says, yes, he's standing next to you. He's blind. So Abu Basir asks him, how did you see him? Harun answers, how can I not see him when he is like the shining sun? So what this shows us is that basically Imam had done something to cover the apparent eyesight of those who were asked before, and he was somehow not visible to them. But the blind person who was physically blind, he saw Imam and realized that Imam was standing there because he had seen something deeper. His eyes of the heart were open, not necessarily the eyes of his face. And he says, how can I not see him when he is standing next to you like the shining sun? So this is an example that people at the time even, they didn't realize the position of the Imams, the ma'rifat of the Imams. So to understand really the qualities of Allah, we must understand someone like Amirul Mu'mineen. To understand how Allah is, we need to understand Amirul Mu'mineen. To see the qualities of Allah in front of us, we must see Amirul Mu'mineen, because he manifests the qualities, and we understand the qualities of God from Amirul Mu'mineen. And the whole of religion leads us into this. This is the core and fundamental part of religion. Let me explain more according to Ayatullah Zia Abadi. He says, look, the laws and the orders of religion can fall into two categories. There are some laws and there are some customs in religion which are directly related to the hereafter, our position with Allah, our life in the hereafter. Things like what? Things like namaz. Namaz is a direct relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a worship. It will help us in the hereafter as well as this world. Things like our beliefs, our i'tiqad, our aqaid, our beliefs, our ideology. Things like our own spirituality and our worship and our ibadat and these things. These are directly related to our life in the hereafter. Then we have a second set of laws and customs about how to organize and administer our worldly life. Like what? Like the Islamic economic system, the Islamic political system, social laws, inheritance, and all of these kinds of things. These fall into the second category. Yes, there are some overlaps here and there. But these two categories of laws and customs in Islam. What he says is, it's a very beautiful point. He says, look, this second category about economic, political, social, etc., this second category are good, not in themselves as such, but if they allow us to practice the first category better. So if the economic life, if the material life, if the political life, if the stability of the society, if the way we live, our houses, our food, our fitness, our pastimes, our different things that we do in our life, if they all lead into a better category number one, that we are connecting better with Allah, our akhirat is getting better, our hereafter is getting better, we are closer to Him, then they are good, but they are not good in themselves necessarily. They are there to help us to worship better. They are there to provide the groundwork that we may worship better. They are there to help us, for example, organize our life, administer our life. How would we worship Allah if we are worried about safety and stability? How would we worship Allah if we didn't have jobs or earning? Where would we eat? How would we live? How would we put a roof over our head? Those things are there to get us closer to Allah by following category number one. So the second category regarding economic, social, and political and these things, they are there to help us remove those distractions, not to get bogged down in those distractions, those difficulties. They are there to give us safety, stability, comfort. Otherwise, they can really be compared with any other laws. If these things are there and they are getting us with the hereafter, then they are very good and we welcome them. But they should be getting us to link more with the hereafter and more with our worship. Then they are part of religion. Otherwise, we have to admit that kuffar have these things as well. They have stability, they have safety, they have comfort, they have, jobs and opportunities and businesses, and probably better than us. probably what the kuffar have is better than us. Some people, unfortunately, they say some very guided things. If they say, for example, that, we see in non-Muslim societies more Islam than in Muslim societies. No, they have misunderstood. These things are only there to get us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not where we're supposed to stop. People become very, very obsessed with promoting a good image of Islam. Yes, all of these things are true. A spirit of fairness and justice and welfare, all of these things are true. But they are true to get us closer to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't stop there. People will even go to the extent that they will neglect the worship of Allah to promote these things. It should be the other way around. We should be spending time on these as necessary to get us closer to Allah through our worship. Otherwise, kuffar have these things as well, and probably better than us. So then the question comes, how to deal with this world? We have to live in this world. How to deal with this world? Aghar explains that the people of Allah, the people of God, the people of religion, they will never relish this world. They will never revel and spend so much of their time and effort in this world. They see this world as a necessary obstacle. It is an obstacle, it's annoying, it takes your time, it takes your energy sometimes, but it's necessary at the same time. They have to deal with it, but they are in no way thrilled by it. Hence, we should also not be spending too much time and effort into just making life more and more pleasurable and luxurious without any clear aim in mind. Our aim is that all of these things should lead us into a better worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone may say, yes, but things themselves are a worship. Yes, they are. They are a worship in themselves, but they are not that classical worship of Islam. They are not that prayers, and they are not that reflection on Allah and getting to know Allah. They are linked with that, but they are not that. Those things are separate. So the men of God, they see this world as something very insignificant. Sometimes Amirul Mu'mineen, the true man of God, sometimes he calls it that your world to me is worth less than the mucus from the nose of a goat. Truly, there's no one more eloquent than Amirul Mu'mineen. And I have not seen these descriptions from any of the other Ma'sumin when it comes to the world. When he says this, he's saying this totally truthfully. He's not exaggerating. He's really telling us that, look, this world is troublesome. It's something I don't like. I even feel disgusted by it. For me, it has no value. I wish I did not have to deal with it, but unfortunately, I have to. Unfortunately, whilst I'm alive, I have to have a few meals. I will eat the most basic meal. I will have barley bread to keep my body alive so I can attend to the other things that I have to attend to. It is for this reason that at night you see Amir al-Mu'mineen in long, long prostrations, asking for forgiveness, crying and lamenting, with eyes flowing with tears, saying, "Oh Allah, forgive my shortcomings." Which shortcomings, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? You are ma'asum, yes. He means those few moments that he has to eat and to sleep and, sort of putting his time in things that he's somehow not engaging in those classic worships of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those things that in which he is not devoting himself completely to God. Hence, their recipe of living in this world was to take of the world only that amount which was necessary for them. So what does he say? He says, Allah hurrun yada'u hadhihi al-lumada li ahliha. He said, is there no free man, is there no hur who can leave this leftover morsel stuck in the teeth to those who want it? This is how he sees the world. What is the value of that piece of food stuck in the teeth? It's nothing. We would feel sickened by it. We would not like it even. He says, is there anyone who's willing to take this away? Is there anyone who is willing to remove himself from this and not busy himself with this leftover morsel? Is there any free person? Or, as I said before, وَلَا أَلْفَيْتُمْ دُنْيَاكُمْ هَذِهِ أَزْهَدُ عِنْدِي مِنْ أَفْتَةِ عَنْزِ يَا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He's done Kamal here. He says, you would have seen in my view, this world of yours is no better than the sneeze of a goat. So we should never really concentrate so much on those social aspects of the religion to the detriment of the worship aspects. If we do, then they should follow on to create the right ground for us to excel in worship and ibadat. We should never let anyone, and we should never let ourselves downgrade our worship. We should never say, what is this namaz all day we are praying? What are these ziyarats that everyone is praying? Why do people spend so much time and effort and money going on ziyarat? What are these du'as for? No, these are the very core of religion. These are the fundamentals of religion. This is actually why we are here. Everything else is to help us get to the stage where we can recite these things. Otherwise, what is the difference between us and the kuffar? Now, no one says that only do worship, only pray, don't do anything else. No, even that is not allowed. But what we say is the following. The core of religion is worship. Everything else should support that. So in summary of these few points, we will say the following 3 points. Number one, the social, economic, political laws and systems are to create the groundwork for our worship, number one. Number two, our acts of worship are there themselves, namaz, etc. They are there themselves. Why? To get us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, you cannot get close to Allah without getting close to Ahlul Bayt. This is the whole summary of what we have discussed in 3 points. So from our viewpoint, religion will only be correct when it is under the authority of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Imams. Otherwise, if you just want to look at the external of this world, you will see kuffar are doing better than us in certain things. You will see, for example, Sunnis. You'll say, oh, their namaz jamaat is much better than ours. You will say that their Quran is much better than ours. Their Hajj and Umrah is very impressive. But Baba, they don't have the soul and spirit of religion, which is the wilayat of Ali and Awlad Ali. So we look at wilayat in this way. We have a protection from wilayat. And we are therefore honored with wilayat. And this honoring with wilayat is not just blind faith and without any reason. No, it is based on intellect and research. We have truly convinced ourselves through proper objective viewing and researching into this, that we have found a reliable path to Allah, and we will follow that path with our heart and soul, and that we regard Ali and Ale Ali as the Sirat-e Mustaqim. Yes, of course, there are times we will have shortcomings. We will slip up as individuals, of course, but we are under their wilayat and they will help us. I will tell you one hadith from the great man Amir al-Mu'mineen himself. Look at this. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, dinakum, dinakum. Take care of your religion, take care of your religion. فَإِنَّ السَّيِّئَةَ فِيهِ خَيْرٌ مِّنَ الْحَسَنَةِ فِي غَيْرِهِ. To sin whilst being on the right path of religion is better than a good deed done whilst you're not on the right path of religion. فَإِنَّ السَّيِّئَةَ فِيهِ خَيْرٌ مِّنَ الْحَسَنَةِ فِي غَيْرِهِ. Why? وَالسَّيِّئَةَ فِيهِ تُغْفَرْ. Because when you slip up but you're on the right path, you will be forgiven. وَالْحَسَنَةَ فِي غَيْرِهِ لَا تُقْبَلْ. But even a good deed done outside of this Sirat-e Mustaqim will not even be accepted. So what we say is, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he guides us to the right path. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he protects us. Amir al-Mu'mineen, even when we slip up and we have some shortcomings and we have the darkness of sin even, he can help us get rid of that darkness of sin. But the biggest darkness really is not having his love in the first place. We never want to be in that position. Allah then gives some examples. He says, for example, some people, they get confused. They say, for example, well, you know, even these khulafa, Umar, Abu Bakr, etc., even they did some good things. Allah says, hold on, what do you mean good things? What did they do? So they say things like, for example, they spread the religion. They conquered new lands. They spread Islam into these different places. Allah says, number one, the first thing to remember is this, if you want to attribute it to anything, attribute it to the sincerity and the khulus of those shuhada and those people who fought for Islam, who had been trained by Rasulullah. This is nothing to do with Umar's leadership or Abu Bakr's leadership. Let's get that straight. This is not their achievement. This is the achievement of the khulus into the hearts of the mu'mineen and the armies and the soldiers and the fighters instilled by Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is number one. Number two, he says, hold on a second, think about this. Whatever, if even you did something good, even that is all put aside and all nullified by the fact that they took something that was not theirs to begin with. He gives an example. He says, you have a house. You live in this house with your family. Someone comes into your house. He throws you out. He hits your wife, throws her out. He throws your children out. He makes you homeless. He, takes over your house. He closes the door. He changes the locks. Now you can't get in anymore. And now he in your house is making the house nice. He's repairing. He's doing up the decorations. He's redecorating. He's making it look nice. Does that have any validity? Would you be happy with that? Would you say, well, yeah, you know what? At least he's making it nice. No. You would say, hang on a second. Anything you do in that house is ghasbi. You have a ghas. You have taken my house by force. It's not yours. You have no right to be there. Whether you pray in there, whether you fast in there, whether you do namaz shab in there, whether you do Quran in there, you're not doing anyone a favor. In fact, the more time you spend there, your deeds are not being accepted and you are creating more and more hellfire for yourself. So what did these people do? They did nothing other than that. They took the positions by force. They did a ghasbi on these things. The true people that should have been in these positions were not allowed to be in these positions by force. And therefore, what good did they do? They didn't do any good. Let's be clear about that. Even if you want to argue that these things, ala zahir, on the apparent, are good, no. Even that will be counted as a sin because they did ghasbi in the first place. They took the right of Ahlul Bayt by force. So we don't recognize any good that they did in front of the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That brings us to the end of Ayatullah Zia Abadi's discussion. Inshallah, next week we will look at the same line from the point of view of Ayatullah Jawadi. Inshallah, he also brings some very interesting points. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our small efforts. May Imam Zaman be happy with this. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.